Salvete discipuli. Today we're going to try to finish up the form work for Unit 8. We have to go through the imperative forms that are presented in the unit. So we're going to start with the present imperatives. Okay, so these are mostly regular forms, but several irregular forms. All right, a couple words just about the imperative. First of all, present means present time. So these are commands verb forms that communicate commands in the present moment. Okay, so close the door, meaning the command is for an action that is going to take place in the present moment. There are future imperatives. For example, a form that can communicate something like you shall close the door as a command, not the indicative you shall be closing the door, a statement of what is going to happen in the future as an indicative statement of fact, but the command, you shall close the door. Right? There is such a thing as a future command, a future imperative, but we're not going to talk about those, we're not going to deal with those in Unit 8. So now, these imperative forms communicate commands in the present moment, and they're imperative, so it's a social act. One person, the speaker, commanding an action to another, singular, or to others, plural, and it's always in second person because the speaker is always talking to someone. So they're true commands, so they're going to be in second person with an understood you, either a you singular or you plural as the understood subject. So a lot of times that subject is not expressed, it's understood. So, and just to recall that imperative refers to one of the 5 qualities that a verb might have: person, number, tense, mood, and voice. So the imperative is one of 3 moods in Latin. We know about the indicative, the mood of factuality, the subjunctive, the mood of the general category of possibility, intent, a lot of things under the subjunctive mood. But possibility, I think, covers most of the basis for the subjunctive. And then finally, the imperative mood, the mood of command. Now, the imperative can cover commands, polite or urgent requests, and also warnings. But they're all true social acts. One person to another, one person to others. Okay? All right, so let's get into the forms now, because that's really what we need to work with and get these under our belt. All right, so number 1 in the presentation for Unit 8 were the active imperatives. So active voice imperatives, active meaning that the understood subject, the you singular or you plural, is understood to be performing the action. Okay? So these are quite easy to form. So in first conjugation, the singular imperatives are simply going to look identical to the present stem. And if there's a macron, include the macron. So apta just simply means you singular desire. Okay? You singular desire. I'm going to use the model verbs for the chapter, the model verbs for the whole book. Okay? So second conjugation, impleo, implere. So here's the present active infinitive. Find the stem. There it is, and that's your form for the singular imperative. And that simply means fill, or fill up. Use singular. Okay? Third conjugation, I'm going to use a verb that's different than the model verb because duco, ducere is one of those verbs that's irregular in the singular form, so I'm going to jump over that now and use, let's use, I think we've done a synopsis on it before, trado, tradere, which means to trade, to hand over, okay, or betray. So again, we're going to find the present stem. There it is. Okay, trade, the short E. So trade, say hand over. Here's your command. Okay. Third IO is going to be identical. Let's use incipio, incipere. Okay. There's your present stem. So incipe, begin. Okay. And that leaves fourth conjugation. So there is your present active infinitive. There's the stem, and that's what you're going to use for the imperative form in the singular. So audi, listen to, or hear. Okay, it's clearly an intransitive. Excuse me. It's clearly that is a transitive action. You expect an object. Okay. All right. So those are the singular forms. The plural forms are going to be actually pretty easy too. We're just simply going to add a te to these forms. The only exception is that we have a stem vowel change in the third conjugation, but you're already familiar with that because you know we've had to deal with that stem vowel change for the present tense, the active in the present system for third conjugation verbs. So I'm just going to put those on the other side here, because the translation is going to be the same, just that the understood subject, whereas here the understood subject is you singular, and if I give you the plural form, it's just going to be you plural, you all, desire. Okay? So that's going to look like this. Optate, you plural, desire, you plural, choose. Okay? Adding the te, implete, you plural, fill up. Okay. Now here is where we're going to have to deal with the stem vowel change. Okay. So that's our stem vowel for the present stem. It's the same change we saw before. You're going to change that to a short I. So that becomes tradete. Tradete. You plural, hand over. Okay, and the same thing with the IO verbs of the third conjugation. Incipite. You plural, begin. Okay, and lastly, we go from audi, which was the fourth conjugation, audi, listen, and we simply add the te to get audite, audite, you all listen. Okay, so the formation is very easy for the imperatives, and they're actually fairly easy to recognize as well in sentences. Okay. All right, now I need to tell you about a few irregular forms. And the irregular forms are only in the singular. So the plural forms will, well, with the exception of one verb, the plural forms will, for the most part, be regular and look like these. Okay, so active imperatives, these are the irregular forms. Okay, the verb dico, dicere, which means say, tell, speak. Okay, its singular imperative looks like this. Dic, okay, just the three letters. Okay, say, speak, tell. Its plural, notice it has the stem vowel mutation from the E to the short I that you expect in the third conjugation. So dicite is simply you plural, speak, tell, say. Duco, ducere, which is the model verb in the textbook. But I skipped over because it's singular present imperative form is duke, not duke. Okay, just duke. Lead. And its plural form, however, will be regular. So with the stem vowel change for third conjugation, ducite. You plural, lead. Two more verbs to go. Facio, facere. Third conjugation, do or make. Okay. It's a short A. Its form is three letters long, just like the others. So, do, make. Okay. Its plural form is going to look a little more regular. Okay. You plural, do or make. And lastly, we have the verb fero, which I don't even think you've been introduced that verb yet, but it's coming up fairly soon, maybe in Unit 9, I believe, Unit 9 or Unit 10. Fero, fere, very, very common verb. Just give you all its principal parts right now. Fero, fere, tuli, latus. Okay, and it means bring or carry, and you get a lot of compounds with it, so it's a verb you really need to know. And its singular form is faire. Its singular form is faire, which means bring, and ferte. So there's a contraction. It just, you lost the vowel altogether. So it's going to be irregular in both the singular and the plural forms. So there's no E or I there. So ferte, you plural bring, not ferete. Okay. Okay, so those are the active forms, but we also have passive forms. And this is where things get a little dicey, because the passive forms are going to be forms that you've seen before. Which can make for some difficulty sometimes in recognizing the form. You just have to remember that the forms I'm putting up, the spellings, are going to be, can be interpreted in several different ways, and you just have to have those forms, those interpretations in your mind when you come to a sentence, so you're juggling all the possibilities. Otherwise, that can be a real, you can really hit a wall in translating a sentence if you forget all the possible interpretations for these forms that I'm going to put up now. So these are the present present passive imperatives and I'll put them on the board on the wall before I tell you what forms they are, and hopefully you'll recognize them. Then we can let's see if you remember, and then I'll help you out if you don't remember them. Okay, so we have optare, okay, and that's the singular form, which means be desired, or you singular, be desired, you singular, be chosen. Okay. Now, you might be thinking, yeah, I've seen that before. That's the present active infinitive, to desire, to choose. And you would not be wrong, but it's actually more closely related because we're dealing with passive forms here. It's more closely related to the second person singular passive form of the present indicative. Okay, and I'll show you. So, for example, if you conjugate opto, optas, optat, that's your active forms of the present tense, right? I choose, you choose, he, she, it chooses. But if we change that to the passive, we get optor, okay? And in the second person singular, we're going to have optaris, but remember that alternate form? Optare, okay? Which means you singular are, right now, being desired, being chosen, okay? And then lastly, we change that optat to optatur, okay? So you see our past forms. This is really, in the closest sense possible, this is what the form you're looking at in terms of the relationship. These two forms right here, okay? So this form as a passive imperative, you singular, be desired, okay? Second person singular indicative, you are being desired. You are desired right now. Okay, so keep that in mind, and we'll just go through with the rest of them, the rest of the conjugations. So, again, remember, the understood subject is you singular, okay? Implere, okay? Be filled up, or just be filled, okay? Ducere, be led. You singular, be led. Okay. And audire, be heard. You singular, be heard. Okay. Put the exclamation point there just to indicate be clear that they're commands. Okay. Now, what about the plural forms? Okay, we're still in the same vein. Think about, let's take opto again. So, opto, optas, optat, optamus. Okay. Optatis and optant. Now, we're interested in the second person singular because, remember, imperative commands are given in second person. Okay? Now, if we take these active forms of the indicative, and I'm just telling you where the form is coming from, take the active forms of the indicative, this would become optamur. Okay? This would become, optant becomes optantur, and if you recall, this is the ending. It's kind of interesting because it adds an extra syllable. Optamini. Okay? Well, that's the form that Latin uses for the present passive imperative plural. Okay, so optomini simply means you plural, be desired. Okay, and if have you got the hang of it, we're going to have for the plural form here, implemini, you plural, be filled up. Okay. Now here we do have to worry about a stem vowel change. Okay, because the form, comes from the present tense forms. So dukimini, changing the E in third conjugation to a short I. Dukimini, you plural, be led. Okay, and I've been using audio, not it doesn't matter. Sentio, sentire, feel, perceive is the modal verb, but that's okay. Audio is good enough. For fourth conjugation, so first conjugation, second conjugation, third conjugation. Oh, and I should throw in incipere, didn't mean to leave that one out, be begun, and it's plural form. That's kind of a mouthful to say. Incipimini, because because the IO means you got that extra vowel in there, so it shifts the dukimini. Okay, but when you get an IO form, incipimini, you often get that extra vowel. Okay, but you have that stem vowel mutation there that you have to worry about. Okay, so third and third IO, and then fourth conjugation, that's going to look like audimini. Okay. You plural, be heard. Okay, I think we're done with the imperative forms. So that's great. We have got through all the form work, all the morphology. We had to trudge through it. Not the most exciting thing in the world, but it's exciting that if you get them under your belt and then you see them in the sentence and you realize what's going on. That's where the hard work pays off. So the next video we'll take up the new constructions, the noun constructions for Unit 8. And then after that, we'll start doing some sentences, translating some sentences up here for you and with you. Okay? So, volete discipuli.